Hello, and welcome back to Secret Diary. I'm your host, Ari, and join me as I dive into insightful analysis and firsthand accounts of social dynamics across various sectors, where I share my goal to empower you to question conventional norms and work to shape an inclusive. I can't remember the rest. Welcome to Secret Diary. I took a break for school and other life varieties. That's just a nice way of me saying my life was very in shambles, very up in the air, very much trying very desperately to keep it together and be the independent, self-fulfilling woman that I strive to be every single day. Thank you to my mom for literally embedding the nature of independence, almost a hyper independence, into my well-being. It certainly has helped me in moments, but in moments like, the last month of my life almost, it's felt a little daunting and overwhelming, but nonetheless, I'm back. I'm here to share on things that I've been experiencing, actually. So these past 2 weeks of my life, while they have been mostly consumed of school and work, a lot of them have been more interpersonal than most weeks. I started my internship for labor organizing, where I am going to just be like storming in, pounding out so many hours, so much passion into organizing more shops for my union, for just the labor movement in general. I feel like very excited and passionate about getting the chance to be just in different shops, creating an environment for workers to feel safe and empowered to speak about the things that they're experiencing in the workplace, and obviously inform them about the great things that we're doing as a union and as like a food industry sector. I think it's so important for people to feel plugged into what's going on, regardless of if they're super interested in participating or not. I think for me, it's like as well when I take breaks, because I will take like politic breaks, is what I like to call it, where I basically am just stepping down for a second so that I can, fix my interpersonal life up a little bit more, be a little bit more present, and find that like work-life balance, even in the midst of, organizing, because I do devote so much time to being involved in labor that it sometimes feels like I'm not taking enough time to be in myself, to be, embracing parts of my identity that aren't all tied to labor, even though, ask me under the influence, I will probably just connect it all back to labor and the movement and what it means to spend a third of your life working and not understanding the power you hold as a worker, and how that does seep into like every area of your life, regardless of whether we want to acknowledge it every single day or not. But I reap the fruit of carrying the burden sometimes. I am always kind of stuck in this constant loop of like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to live in this system. I want to fix it. I want to shape it. I want it to be way more inclusive, way more sustainable and balanced, so that we can thrive in all other areas of life and society and social culture. So what was I doing this past month where I was stepping back from this? I kind of want to talk about identity, because identity for me has really been such a malleable topic and center of my life. I am constantly being told that I'm very myself, I guess. I'm very confident. I'm not somebody who's really struggles with their identity very strongly, because I feel like I've had so many instances within my life where I'm constantly having to stand with who I am, the choices I make, why I am the way that I am. Like, I've just had to defend myself so much throughout my life that I feel like the one thing I've gotten out of it is, regardless of whether or not other people want to agree with me or my lifestyle or who I am and what I'm doing, I know that, like, who I am and things that I believe in are the strong values that I hold, and constantly changing and ebbing and flowing. I don't like to pin myself to being a certain kind of way. And I actively challenge the people in my life to question why they are the way that they are, in the sense, like, don't send yourself into a spiral because you're just like, who am I? What am I? There are things about who I am, like my integrity, and like my values that feel fundamental to a certain extent, but I'm always open to changing my mind, to questioning the things that I believe in, because I grew up in the evangelical Christian church, where these ideas of, like, questioning your identity, questioning the things that you believe in, are often told from the context of something that's just wrong and is shameful. And, when it's written for you, when you look at a book and it has all these stories and all these tales of, like, the things that you're supposed to get from them, and the way that they're taught to you is like, this is how you must interpret it. And I feel like being in the church for so long, being there for, like, I think it was almost all 18 years of my life in and out of church with my family, a lot of it spent on my lonesome, going on my own accord, because I genuinely, like, loved the sense of community and belonging that happens when you are a part of, like, a bigger, more like sky cult, is what I like to call it, like, from earth cult to sky cult combined. Now we're, like, sitting in this and we're living life together, and it feels less lonely and daunting and, sacrilegious almost. But through all of this, I was sitting in lessons, I was going and learning about religion, only one kind, but I was still very open to other kinds. My best friend was a Muslim, and I had other friends who were Catholic, and other, like, different coverings of Christianity. And so I always was surrounded by religion, and it was definitely a part of my identity for a long time. But it always felt very difficult to be in the kind of environment where I had to navigate both my, like, fleshly desires and ambitions and, from my, like, religious ones. I won't get too crazy into this because I don't want to, like, offend anyone. I never speak about religion from a place of, like, trying to debunk it. I think life is literally yours to create meaning from. There are plenty of people who live beautiful, like, lives, who are saved from terrible, like, circumstances because of religion. And I do think it provides a structure and a purpose for people who do struggle to find those things. I just alternatively don't need that to be fulfilled in my life, to feel connected to the people that I'm with and to love. And I still find myself holding on to really strong ideals that I did learn through growing up in a religious establishment. Like, I am very, very, like, about equity and fairness. I'm very passionate about loving people unconditionally and letting them be themselves and come as they are, like, in any circumstance. And I hold myself to that same principle. And I know plenty of religious people who feel that same exact way. They just, the things that they pray to, the rituals, the things that they, come to the altar for, are just different. We just do it in different ways. You're praying to God, I'm praying to myself and to the things that I want to manifest into my life and the things that I feel are important to me. And I'm always looking out for the people I care about, all these things, right? These are, like, strong principles that I can attribute and testament to growing up in a religious community. However, I also have heavy critiques of the community in which I was raised in that I don't think are strong examples of every kind of establishment, religious establishment, take it as you will. Again, to not derail the conversation, this is about identity. This is about who we are and how within these this month, I have moments in my life where I feel like I die to others so that I can be reborn for myself, and so that I can walk through life and remind myself, like, what is my purpose? What is my goal? Because life is kind of meaningless until you give it meaning. And so I like to have meaningful things in my life to strive for and to encourage. And right now, after taking a break from the podcast to kind of recenter myself, I'm really finding myself for the first time in like very, very long, really actually living for myself. And even then, I have to stop and ask myself, like, is this for me, or is this for like the greater good, or is this for somebody else that I truly care about and want to be there for? I spent so much of my life giving and being like this mediator, being somebody who is, someone you can turn to in a time of need. And I still will extend myself, but I realize like how much more energy I have to give when I am investing into myself, like, more consistently. I was going through a really bad breakup this past month, and it really had me thinking about, like, what is it that I sacrifice for myself at the expense of others? And what do I sacrifice for others at the expense for myself? How do you know what is like good or bad? And I was reading a lot of just like podcasts. I started reading a lot of like women's studies, and forgive me because I genuinely couldn't tell you what it is that I'm thinking about, but I was also researching some kind of religion or like idea of thought. It was definitely like a philosophical idea, and it's kind of like this idea that there is no good or bad, that there's just kind of things do have cause and effect. And sometimes I worry, right, when I think it's like this religious sense of guilt, where when you come out of a situation where you feel like you were struggling and you were sacrificing parts of yourself that you shouldn't have, and then you finally decide to like walk away from them and to focus that energy on something that is fruitful for yourself. For me, more so, it was just like reinvesting time and energy back into myself, because I spent so much time trying to make something work that at the end of the day was not in either party's best interest. So walking away from that situation, I was able to really like reflect on how much or when enough is enough for me. And throughout my whole life, relationships weren't very important pinnacles, romantic ones. Sorry for, because again, grew up really religious, so it was like kind of shunned to be like in a romantic relationship. I definitely tried my hand at it, but it just never felt essential to my life, and it never has. I don't think I'll ever feel like I need to be like romantically like in love in order to feel fulfilled. And during this process, like having to let go of somebody who I was like so like in love with, and still have a lot of like intense feelings for, in the sense of like, this is somebody I shared so much of my life with. I'm not going to look at this moment and feel like this is devastating. Life will never be the same again. I think I kind of just accept that. I'm so excited that life will never be the same as it was before. When you let go of something because you care about it enough to understand when, you and another person just shouldn't be involved, you're able to almost accept the unknown. I am somebody who my entire life I've felt like I've planned like meticulously to get to the place that I am in right now. And I still have all these structures, like these internal routines and rituals that are embedded into who I am, simply because I feel fulfilled knowing, how many times a week I'm going to the gym, how I budget my money so that I can, still work through school and have my full-time job and not feel overwhelmed. And these are just some small pieces of habits that I've used so that I can sustain my identity, so that I can, have these big things happen to me and realize like at the end of the day, I will be fine. I will be okay. And let life wash over me in a way where it's like, this is beautiful. I've never been here before. And who knows like where this will take me, but I have a plan and I have a goal, but it's not unchanging. It's not like I can't be open to different possibilities in my life. And I think that's a little scary for some people. Feeling like, when you have like no clear, direct, objective, I feel like limited in that. I feel like as part of who I am, and the most times I've felt myself have been when I've just let go of this idea of who I am and just like been like, I like this. I enjoy this. And I'm not hurting anyone. I'm not hurting myself. And any it's going to be okay. And even in those moments where like you do something that maybe it does hurt somebody, maybe it does make you feel like, I don't know if I'm going to be okay because I'm hurting somebody else, to do something that will get me to a place where I will be okay. I guess the real question is to like sit in thought with yourself, to meditate and really find what does life need to mean for you, if anything, I think about the fact that like so many times when people are let go unexpectedly, they die. And what did they have to prove, to show for their life? It's one of those things that makes you want to hold on closely to the people in your innermost circle. And it almost like you get this like anxiety of like, anything could change. Anybody could leave at any moment. I don't want to have to deal with that. And I think I've had so many moments in my life where I have had to let go of who somebody has been to me and changed and opened my perspective and let them be human and let them be who they are, that I don't hold those reservations for people. I have really been practicing like this idea of relationship anarchy and letting everybody in my life feel as if they have equal importance to me, because they do, because there's not one person that means more to me than another. Just what they mean to me is different, but it doesn't hold any more weight. I'm not going to let it like interfere with my interactions between other individuals. Obviously, this is just like more of an interpersonal dialogue I run between myself. And also it's not like completely archaic where I'm like, you're a terrible person and you're doing terrible things. You're just as important as this other person who's amazing and great and contributes. It's more so like, you being a bad person doing terrible things does not affect my relationship to anybody. What we have or what we've established is like, that's the dynamic, and it just so happens to be like how we work in this dynamic. So it's definitely been a process, and I have so many lovely examples of strong individuals within my life that give me the things that I need, and the care and the sympathy and the ear. Like, I've really felt like through all of this, the one thing that's been reaffirmed for me, like day after day throughout this entire like harsh month, has been like, who I am is unwavering and it's never really faltered in spite of like dark circumstances, in spite of like transgressions or just new situations I find myself in where I'm just like, I'm so frustrated, I'm so this, I'm so that, but I'm able to sit down with myself and really be like, and we're gonna be fine and we're gonna be okay. And I think sometimes the people who are closest to me get a little concerned and they're like, how are you constantly doing this? How are you constantly like reinventing yourself and reestablishing like frameworks in your mind? And I feel like for me, it's just because I never really have like such a straight edge way of being. It's really just up to me. It's my life. And why am I gonna sit and try to justify that to anybody else other than, the people who love and accept me? And even those who don't. I love having conversations with people where we talk about, our thoughts on the world and our commentaries. And this is like part of why I love having this podcast for myself. And it's like my corner of the internet. And I really get to dive into the things that are important to me. And right now, it's really feels like a time in my life to focus in on those like interpersonal developments that I'm having. I've kind of shied away from being a little too open on the podcast because of the fact that like being on the internet, putting yourself out there, you're just like an open commentary for anyone. But I truly I don't care. This is for me, Oh, I'm so sorry. It's like not focused. I don't know how to like make it focus. Okay, there. Okay. But yeah, and I feel like I hope, if anything, I can just encourage people to kind of let go of these ideas of like who we should be and for who and for why. And, as I am someone who really cares about everyone, unfortunately. Like I say that as a joke, like unfortunately, but like truly, if you're somebody who's very similar, where you just find like it's very difficult to not care about the world and like human beings, I just like think humans are my favorite things on earth. But like, we're part of nature and animals, and those are things that I absolutely adore, but I just feel like in such kinship with every other person on this earth. And it's hard for me to feel like nihilistic and pessimistic about the things that I experience. And trust me, like I've definitely been through my fair share of difficult circumstances, but it's definitely shaped who I am now. And I know that not everybody has that kind of like support system with around them to grow out of like bad environments. So I'm very, very happy to be that person for you or for anyone, to just like be a place on the internet to connect you with other people who have been through similar situations, and just know that you're not alone in anything that you're doing. I remember being on like YouTube at such a young age, and Tumblr like way too early, doing like things I should not have been doing, looking up, being influenced by. I was like watching like Onision. I was on like very terrible Tumblr places, and through all of that, I'm okay, y'all. Like we've made it this far. We've come this far. Like I've met so many people who have been like pre-exposed to things on the internet that have completely like shaped the way that they see the world and the way that they walk through the world. And alongside, this digital age, anyone like in my age range, like Gen Z eras, we grew up like in tandem with like the acceleration of the internet. And now we're like living in a time where we can't escape it. Like it's embedded into culture. It's embedded into like social dynamics alongside all the other bullshit that has been tackled on with it. So like, I'm so happy to have this not be just me, because I know it's not just me. It's literally like so many of us have experienced all this. But identity, yeah, who we are and like the things that we care about. And I don't know, like at the end of the day, I am so passionate about social justice. I care so much about helping people feel like the problem isn't you. The problem isn't your lack of identity even. The problem is a system that conditions us in a way that we're without, where we don't have enough. And if enough of us care, if enough of us are good in that context, in whatever good means to you, right? But to me, to be good means to be open-minded and to not judge people in a way where you wouldn't want to be judged, and to guide them. It's not necessarily your job to be that person for every person in your life, right? But definitely have discernment. Decide like what is good for me, because you have to be able to show up for yourself first in order to show up and be an actual genuine like person for others. Because when you pour into other people and you're without, you're pouring air. You're pouring empty space. And what happens when there's like an air bubble in like something you're trying to seal or whatever? It goes stale. or it doesn't fit as smoothly as it could, and it looks just like, the mistake that was made. Don't pour into things that don't give you what you need in order to feel fulfilled, because then you will spend your whole life playing catch up and pouring your energy into things that don't serve you. And that's it. That's all I really have to share. I know last time I talked a lot about like living in New York and like the things that have happened to me since I've moved here and kind of like how I navigate those things. I'm definitely like trying to get better about budgeting in some fun now that I have started to realize like I can't just like sit at home all day and not do anything if I'm not working or doing school. Definitely down for free activities though. If you guys know like any fun free activities in the city, totally open to those. Hit me up if you're interested in doing anything social justice oriented. I have so many groups, so many movements that I'm like trickling in through, involved with, have so many close, amazing, gifted, talented friends that I am so excited to try to get on the pod. Don't hold out on me yet, y'all. Like, I have a few more months out until I graduate, and then I really want to like put so much energy into this podcast. It's just been like really hard for me because, again, I have a lot on my plate as of late, but it's in the works. I have the forms. I've been, I always like, I'm just trying to be realistic. I don't want to overflow or put myself in a position where it's like I'm starting out to do something and then I can't actually do it and it loses its momentum. I'm letting this podcast be more of like for me now until, I graduate and I have the ability to really pour into this with the immense amount of free time I will have, not having to do like 2 things at once, almost 3 now that I have my internship. So thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Secret Diary. And I really hope to see you all in the future and next week, hopefully, fingers crossed. I really suck at social media and promoting the podcast on there. I honestly don't care to eat it. I don't know. As of now, while I'm still in school and the pod's like not where I need want it to be, like with guests and all that, I'm probably not gonna really push too much like promotional content. I don't care. Genuinely, I don't. This will be our little secret diary. This is what it is. Okay, I'll see you guys hopefully soon.